Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes, yes. Thank you. I've decided to stand so that and not walk around so that I don't fall asleep from the jet lag. Can I walk down this ramp? Is this safe? Okay, I can. Yes. Okay, great. Look, good afternoon, and great to be in this amazing venue, gorgeous venue. So first of all, let's thank the organizers. Fantastic job done, Mustafiz, and the sponsors, you guys, and everyone else who's been here from Bangladesh. Thanks very much for coming. I'm going to try to keep it short because I'm actually very keen to hear from all of you what you'd like to say to us and what we need to do as government to fix some of these problems. So everyone asked me, the very first question I have from everyone is, how is it going? As you probably know, I came from private sector. I've worked in investment banking for the most part of my life. It's been 6 months into the government. How it's going is a very complex question. But the easy answer to that is doing national service is always an honor, and I'm absolutely loving it. There are tons of challenges and stress related to it, but at the same time, we have a generational moonshot to change Bangladesh for the better. And that's what drives us as an interim government. The government, as you probably know, is made out of technocrats and geeks. And we do understand that the country is not perfect. It is not perfect to do business. It is not perfect to invest. It is not perfect to do trade with. But no country is perfect to do any of these anyway. Based on the recent events that we have all come across, where S&P went up 10%, 20% and came down 40% in 2 hours, we can all admit that there is no true picture of perfection anymore in the world. So under these circumstances, what we have set out to do is to draw up an ambition, a vision for Bangladesh, and try to solve as many problems as we can while we get there. So the question really is, as we know that things are not perfect, there are some positives for Bangladesh. An average Bangladeshi is about 22 years younger than an average Dutch individual. Although we are relatively shorter in terms of height from you, but we can, the entire population is very, very young. Almost half of the population is less than 25 years old. So what do we do with this population who have driven the country out of a completely non-democratic setup, and they have cried out for transparency, accountability, and freedom of speech during the August uprising last year. And they're also very globally connected. Their expectations are that Bangladesh is not going to become Bangladesh. Of course, we talk about Bangladesh 2.0, but the Bangladesh 2.0 cannot look like a 10% improvement from Bangladesh 1.0. It needs to look like a significant different outfit, an outfit that looks more like a Singapore. So in our case, what we have decided to do is to prioritize the key challenges that all the trading partners, investors face in Bangladesh, and try to solve as many of them as we can by the time this interim government calls for election. So we intend to, as you probably have heard, the election is imminent towards end of this year or early next year. But within this period, the goal is to get through or zoom through most of the reforms so that the investment climate in Bangladesh, doing business in Bangladesh, is much, much easier than what you would have experienced today. There are some short-term actions that we are undertaking. For example, we have turned on something called a green channel in trade so that we can fast-track trade. It's very common in Western markets, but it didn't exist in Bangladesh. We're also creating a one-stop service within government, a very classic relationship management model that exists in banks but doesn't exist in the government. So you'd have one relationship manager that you can talk to who walks you around the rest of the government to solve your challenges. Now, all these reforms are targeted towards our ambition, the ambition that I just spoke about. So let's go back to that ambition. The ambition really is to convert Bangladesh into a global manufacturing hub. You can think of it as a mini China, not the political piece of it, but the manufacturing piece of it. So we would like to become the global manufacturing hub which connects the east to the west. The Bangladeshis currently know, the port capacity we have now is not necessarily enough. So the plans we have at this moment is going to triple our port capacity in the next 2 to 5 years. We have a deep sea port coming up. We have 3 different ports coming up, and one of them is actually a Dutch port. So you can think about using that more than the other ports if you want to support the Dutch economy. But that's one piece of it. And then if you think about the geolocation we have, you could think about the entire Belt and Road Initiative, and the landlocked countries above us could potentially use Bangladesh as a trade corridor, or almost a logistical hub that connects, again, the South and Southeast of Asia to the rest of the world. So that is the long-term vision. Imagine Bangladesh, don't imagine Bangladesh as just one country with 180 million people with a young population, but imagine Bangladesh as a potential factory location where you have the factors of production like labor, like logistic connectivity, like the cost of doing business in a relatively advantageous position compared to our competitors, and at the same time potentially be able to serve the domestic market and the market that sits right above us, which are mostly landlocked positions. So keeping that in mind, all the actions that we're taking in long term and short term are essentially driving us, we hope, are driving us towards that direction. And that's why I genuinely think this is a fantastic time to potentially consider Bangladesh as a location where you could start doing business. I'll finish off with one last point, and I've just come across this yesterday, so I thought I would share this story. I met one of the largest port operators in the world yesterday who are looking at that Dutch port in Bangladesh, and he was telling me that his sons and his friends, they came to his house and they were asking, "Oh, Dad, what do you do?" Sons was, "So what do you do as your day job?" And he said, "Oh, I'm part of a port operator." And they're like, "Okay, but what does that really mean? What's the purpose of doing this job? What's the value in working for a port operator? Do you get really? Do you feel you've added value to the world? Have you changed the world? What's going on?" So a lot of times I think we get the same question. I get the same question from my daughter. She says the only thing she's very keen on is how many followers I have on Instagram and Facebook. But her question is always the same. She's like, "Dad, don't tell me," when I used to be in banking, she said, "What do you do?" "I do banking." That means nothing to her. She really wants to understand how I have made a difference, how I have changed the world in the positive direction. So this gentleman yesterday, he was saying that he was sitting back and thinking, how does he explain to his son's friends that he is actually doing something important? So he ended up, this company operates in 63 markets in the world, but he ended up talking about Bangladesh. He said, "Oh, we're setting up one of the biggest ports in Bangladesh, and once we set up that port, that will change millions and millions of people's lives, and that will transform the country into a different one. That will potentially bring a huge chunk of young population up from the lower middle income to middle and upper income category, and also potentially give them opportunity to explore the world." So that's what I do, and that sat very well with his sons. So that's what I would probably tell to you, is that if you are looking at Bangladesh as a potential market where you would go and trade, I genuinely think it should not only be for the economic reasons, but it should be because just like I find my job, that it gives you an immense amount of satisfaction that you're potentially changing thousands and thousands of people's lives and changing a country for the better and changing a young population, giving them hope, giving them a future. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I look forward to talking to all of you in the breaks. Thank you very much.